So food,
Good.
I mean, I feel I always lose weight when I fish because I feel like eating is something that I just don't do when I go down there. I mean,
As a guide,
Right.
you probably you survive off beef jerky and
Yep.
potato chips.
Yeah, I did off beef jerky
Exactly.
until a couple of years ago. I went to get my physical.
Welcome to Guys Fishing Weekly. We don't just fish, we hook.
Hey, buddy.
Eddie.
How are you, dude?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm great. This is a good week.
It has been a great week. We're going to get to all that. Who we got on the show today, bud?
Today we're talking with David Pitt of KC Flatco's out of Kansas City and Branson, Missouri.
I'm stoked for this conversation. Their concept for Casey Flats is really good, and it's really, really intriguing. So let's get into the conversation because it's good.
No doubt it's a goodie. Today on the show, we're talking about push pulling for carp, joys of guiding, fly fishing in Kansas City, and why beef jerky is not a complete diet.
Indeed. Let's do it.
Hey, David, how are you?
Good, guys. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Welcome to the show. We're glad to have you. David, where do we find you this morning?
I'm in Overland Park, Kansas.
In Ed's neck of the woods.
Yeah, you're right down the street.
Okay, all right. Yeah,
That's good.
it's getting a little crisp here, so that I'm starting to feel the fall, cooler weather coming in.
Yeah, finally. It seems like it's been stuck somewhere else. But
Yeah, we're still covered in snow here. So after that last blast we had, so I'm a little jealous. I'm not ready for snow yet.
you can stay jealous about snow because we got leaves, and I'm sure David can resonate with that because I have leaves that I'm just not looking forward to
Bane of
picking
your
up.
existence. I know.
Oh my goodness, it's terrible.
I like
So-
the warmer weather. The cold weather. The challenge is what to wear. Right.
Yeah, that's
always
right.
always the issue when you're on the water.
For sure. Well, a little background on how we got linked together. I started taking a fly tying course. I've never done that before, and I got into the world of fly tying, and I'm a new entrant. But I was doing the fly tying course at K&K Fly Fishers out here, which unfortunately I've heard is going to be closing soon. But they gave me your recommendation because my father was coming out to go down and fish in Taneycomo and mentioned that you were one of the best guides in the area. So really happy to talk to you about that area and fishing in Kansas City and the Midwest.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that K&K, that's a bummer. They've been around for a long time, and
Yeah.
a lot of it's a really excellent fly shop, great fly tying material. They do a lot of trips out of there, and Kevin, the owner, is decided to throw in the towel. He's had a good run, and I think he's just going to shut her down. But it's
Yeah.
a really cool place too because there's a lot of guys you can go a place where you can go and hang out, talk fishing. Right, there's a
Right.
table there as you
Nice.
saw, and so there's a bunch of folks you can meet and stuff, and just go in, look at some gear, and mostly talk about fishing expeditions and adventures and stuff. So yeah,
It was a great, we talk about third spaces a lot. I mean, it was a great space, like you said, place to come together. And like they have a space specifically for tying, a big table that you can go in and just, hang out and the old timers there
Yep.
talk fly tying and fly fishing all day. And
Yeah.
there's pictures of all of their trophy fish on the walls and stuff.
Yep.
So it is a bummer.
Yeah, we were hoping somebody maybe would take it over, but it looks like he's just going to, shut her down. So that's so I think now that just leaves us up here. Bass Pro has okay, and Olathe has an okay fly selection. There's a place called Rainbow, which I haven't been to. Probably need to go see there. I've heard decent things about that. It's a fly shop over in Missouri, and then there used to be an Orvis. And believe it or not, in Leawood, real close to us. I mean, it was wild, and this fly. I mean, and you have clothes and dog beds and things like that. But they had a guy named Brad Kellerman, who's kind of a local fly fishing guy around, young guy around here who worked at K&K too, but he was a fishing manager, a real fishy young man at Orvis, and a ton of us, including me, he just stocked it up and he loved the fish. And he had the Orvis had these 102, 102, 101 and 102 and 103 classes in the spring. And I used to help teach those, right? He would come in free, and you'd get a discount on gear if you were attending it. Teach how to fly cast. Then we go to a local pond and teach how to fly fish, catch some fish. And then the third one was go down to Taneycombe or a place like that. And that wasn't free, but the first two were free. But he had this incredible following, and a lot of guys got into it, and he sold a lot of gear and he stocked it really well. They shut down and he moved on over to K&K, but it was super convenient. And you just walk into Brad and say, "Hey man, I need these kind of hooks or I need this kind of stuff." They'd be in, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
But Kevin's the same way too. Kevin's the same way. He ended up working for Kevin for a while. And then Kevin, if you go into Kevin and say, "I need this," he'll get it for you.
Yeah.
But so it's going to be it's going to be
awesome to have those local spots. Yeah. That's too bad that it couldn't, is he just done with the business?
Done. Yeah, he's retiring. Yeah. I don't think it has anything to do with, because he started, I think, in the early 90s or whatever. I mean, he was before the River Run momentum. And I think at one point in time, before the internet, or right when the internet started, he was like, from people from all over the world, he was selling a lot online. He has a really well-known shop in Kansas City. We don't have anything around, as you know. I mean, we have water around us, but it's a really unique story when you think about it, because normally they'd be in a resort area, White River, Taneycombe, fly shops, out where you're at, Deckers, there's going to be some, shops nearby just to support that. But no, he made it go, just sitting in, Lenexa, Kansas or whatever.
It's a really cool shop in an old 7-Eleven, and that's awesome. It's wild.
Well, that brings us to you and your concept of Casey Flats, David. Tell us a little bit, give us a little bit of background about you and your story and your kind of journey with Casey Flats Company.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'd love to talk about it. So I grew up in Topeka, Kansas, and didn't come from a family of outdoors people. My father was, but he was one of those guys that grew up in West Virginia and hunted and fished and did everything and didn't want anything to do with it when he got in, out of it after he did. It was done. He was done. Didn't carry on. So I got into fishing young, gear fishing, conventional gear fishing, and back in the 70s, I had access to like Bassmaster magazine or TV shows, right? You'd watch on Saturday morning or Sunday. And I fished like crazy. I loved it. I was going to be a professional bass fisherman. That was my goal through junior high and high school, skip school, farm ponds, reservoirs, gear fish. Loved it. I was enamored by it. Terrible student. I mean, I was never really a good student. And it was attention. If I didn't interested in something, I'd go all in. But so that was it. And then I remember a family member from the East Coast came out once. They took a camper across that came in, and I go, "Hey, you want to go fishing?" So I took them to a farm pond and we did some bass fishing. And that was my genesis for guiding. I really enjoyed taking them. I mean, I took it was like an uncle and an aunt, and they had their son. And we went out there and we showed them this bass pond. And we caught some fish and really got a charge out of it. That ended, and I went to college, and didn't fish much, got married and had a family. And then my son started, and I didn't really fish a lot, just didn't have time. I mean, I was just work and family and things like that. And even before I was married, I was working hard. I was really into my work, and drinking beers and doing that kind of stuff. That's all my life in my 20s.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
that should be everybody's life in their 20s.
Yeah, I wish I wouldn't. I mean, I think I would have backed off a little bit. I think I would have been a little less beer drinking and chasing women and stuff than that was the 80s, right? 80s, how the 80s. Well, Ed, you don't know, but
I don't. I know. I was a creation of the 80s. I was a creation of all that beer drinking and women chasing. So
for sure.
It was but. Had family, kids, and then my son was into it, and my son and I got into fishing again. When we go camping, we didn't have a lot of means back then, so we'd go. Our spring breaks were camping Ozarks, get a camper and we'd gear fish from lakes and reservoirs and streams. And then we got into maybe my son got closer to junior high or high school area, junior high maybe. I don't remember the exact time, but I tried to fly fish back in the 70s. I saw a magazine, went to Wilco, bought a fly rod.
Wilco, nice.
Yeah, Wilco was in one of those, like a Walmart, but Wilco, I worked there.
Oh yeah,
got a fly
totally.
rod.
Yeah.
Came home, saw some pictures in one of the magazines I was reading. Took some got a fishing hook, a bait hook, cut some dares up. My black Labrador retriever was our dog, so I stripped some things up, glued some feathers on. Right then, went out to that farm pond. I don't think I caught anything. I was trying to figure out how to flip it out there, and it just ended. I mean, I tried it. I said, well, I did it. And that was ended. But it always intrigued me. So fast forward to when my son's high school, junior high, and we go, let's go to the Bennett Springs. There's a trout park in Missouri. Missouri has a bunch of spring-fed trout parks, fish hatcheries. They're a great way to go to fish for trout. I mean, a ton of fish, beautiful scenery. Sometimes you have to deal with some combat fishing, but like this time of year, catch and release season just opened, so you can go there on the weekends, Friday through Monday, and fish these trout parks. And there's 3 of them in Missouri, and you have to release, but it's crowds are gone, right? You have to catch and release, but you go on a crappy day, you have the place to yourself. I mean, it's really what I do. Anyway, there was a guy that had a fly casting school down there. That you go teach a day. Saturday, drive down there, teaches you how to, he's certified, teaches you how to fly cast and you fish. So that's what we did. Loved it. Just went crazy. This is great. Both of my son and I were just, this is it, man. Awesome. And we never looked back. Right. But I remember the sitting there on the bank after we took the fly fishing school. And of course, at that time, then we had to learn the knots and the leaders and things like that. And we, sitting on the bank, trying to, tie surgeon's knot and small flies and figuring it out, and it's a great place to go because it's a ton of fish. So you can really be kind of sloppy and not doing you're going to catch fish. Right. So we caught some fish and it just took off from there. That was where we went nuts. So we did some destination fishing. He went out to Colorado State. He didn't go to Colorado State because of the fly fishing. He'd always wanted to go there as a little boy. When we'd visit Colorado, he said, I'm going to Colorado State. And he lived his dream. He got out there, and then that blew everything up because he was fishing all the time. I mean, every day, class, school. And then I would go out and visit him, and he'd go out to places, take us to Hooter Canyon or the Big Thompson up in, the best thing was go up to Wyoming, right? We'd motor up there and fish the North Platte, which was incredible times. And and so that's kind of how we got into it. We just went nuts. I mean, I put a lot of time on the water here, and this is where I got to know Taneycomo. So around here, I went to the trout parks, which was great. I mean, those are fine, but Taneycomo was about a 3.5 hour drive from here, 3 hours and 15 minutes. So I spent a lot of time. I got in trouble too with home with my wife, but I'd get up early, like at 4:00 in the morning, drive down to Taneycomo, rent a boat from Lily's Landing. That's who I guide through down there, resort down there. And where'd you stay, Ed?
We just stayed at a local hotel, but yeah, we got our boat and guide at Lily's Landing as well. So
yeah, that's another put a plug in for Phil Lilly. That's
definitely
great guides and great shop, great location. And you can rent a boat. I rented a boat, go fish, come back, drive home. Let's do it a day in, day out type of deal. And I did that for a while. And I really love taking people fishing. I would just take friends. I said, "Anyone go with me? I need a wingman, to do this." Yeah, and so we'd go, and sometimes it was a brother-in-law or a friend that didn't do it, and I said, "Well, here I got the rods. I'll show you how to do it." Right? I had and so Brad Kellerman, I started helping him at his fishing schools because he'd say, "Listen, you help me out, man, and I will give you a discount on gear." So I got a bunch of gear cheap because he gave me a discount, and all I had to do was help him out. So I had, help people at casting, take them fishing on farm ponds with indicators and stuff like that. And so I take my friends on Taneycomo, figure out Taneycomo with them, my friends, and I really loved it. I came to a point where I enjoyed getting somebody on a fish more than myself. that said, I've caught a ton of fish at Taneycombe and done it, so it's not boring. But when you're trying it a lot, sometimes the next level challenge is, okay, let's see if we can figure this out with somebody else. And so I started doing that, and then I got there was a Project Healing Waters. I didn't have a captain's license, so you can't really guide. At least in Missouri, you have to have legally you have to have a captain's license or a Coast Guard credentials. So I would take people no charge, just like for free. I'd say, hey, and I contacted the Project Healing Waters, some folks over there. I think it's called Frontline Fishing now. They changed their name, and I just take those guys. Hey, anybody wants to go fishing? Because I think it's a great, as you know, a great therapy type of thing. I mean, I don't care what your mind you're in. You can, it's an escape. I mean, you guys have all done it. I don't know what's going on, some stresses in life or work or what have you. You go out fishing, it's gone. It's a vacuum. You're in that world. The bummer is it ends because you got to drive home, and it all comes back. But for that temporary relief, it's great. And so I took some of those guys to get people learn, get people on fish, and then got my let me see, maybe 3 years ago, I got my captain's credentials, and hooked up with Lily's. They give me trips, and then that's it. But you asked about Casey Flats Co. So Casey Flats Co. is our company here. And it is Casey Flats Co. It was started by Brad Kellerman, the guy that I was telling you about, had the Orvis store, and Mitch Meyer, who's still involved. Mitch Meyer. They're younger guys. Mitch was a pro baseball player. He's from Kansas City, went to K-State, which is a university in Kansas, and then he got recruited by the Brewers organization, and it was a farm league, going into he won the dance, but it was in that progress of the dance,
right?
And he was up in Montana, and this is an interesting story. He was a young guy in Montana. They put him with a host family, and the host family had 2 little kids. Nice family, 2 little kids. But he told me that the problem was he was probably in his early 20s, and he had 2 little kids, and they're little kids. And in the mornings it was tough. He didn't have to go to practice till like 11 or 1. I mean, then he could practice in the afternoon. So he said, "Man, I had to get out of the house, dude." I mean, it was kids crying and stuff like that, because it was just a family. They was making extra money hosting them, and they come to the breakfast table, and I've had kids, so I know how that is. He's getting taken out of dust. So he got up crack of dawn and go fishing. He was in Montana. And he was always an outdoorsman, but he just really wasn't into it, man. He freaking got into it. He started, every day he'd just get up in the morning before everybody got up, go fish, come back, go to practice, rinse and repeat, and do that kind of stuff. And it was great. And then one time he said what they do is he'd go home in the off season, and then they call him back, so come back to report, for practice or for duty. And he didn't. One time they called him and said, "You don't need to come back." He said, "We're good, right?" And he said, "Oh, okay. What am I gonna do now?" And he said he went to he was into fly fishing, so he went over to Minturn Anglers. He was a guide there. He said, "I'm gonna do this." He wasn't married or anything, and he had a serious girlfriend, but she said, "Yeah, go live your dream." So I think for a couple of years, I believe he was just and he'd come back in the winter in Kansas City, but he'd go back out there and fish Minturn. He said it was fantastic, and he learned from some, I guess there's a lot of guys there. He probably know the shop, but
It's funny. We just interviewed a guy who owns a whiskey distillery up in Minturn. So, and we've been up there. We fish up there a lot. Reed and I have taken a couple trips in the past 24 months up there. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. So he loved
good
it.
stuff. He said Eagle, Colorado. It's really good fishing up there.
It's awesome.
Is it? Oh, good.
Yeah, I think he's trying to do a partnership with Minturn Anglers. I think that's the angling shop he's trying to do something with.
Oh,
so
really?
It's pretty. Yeah. So that's interesting. Yep.
I've never fished the Eagle. Is it pretty good?
Oh, it's a fun little river. Yeah.
It's an awesome fishery. Yeah, it's really good trout stream.
Oh, nice. I've never fished, but he had great stories about it. So he came back, and that ended. He got married. Had a girlfriend. So now it's time to, get in the real world. And so he came back here, and to satisfy his, he has a couple kids now, and he can't fish as much as he wants to, but to satisfy his itch, he and Brad started Casey Flats Co. And they started it, and I knew Brad, and they asked me to join up with them. So and so Brad is a little out of it. He's guided very little. Mitch is not guiding much, but myself, and we got another couple guys, Jared and Noah. Jared and I we fish out of a Towie skiff, and Noah is wade fishing around here. Very fishy guys.
Nice.
So we're and Mitch will do trips here and there, but they pioneered what their niche is. Casey Flats is a lot of carp fishing goes on around here. I know it goes out in Colorado too.
Right. Yeah.
And we have great carp fishing out here. And we went ahead and he got a Hog Island boat. I fish out of a Towie crossover skiff. But he got a Hog Island, and we got a pulling platform. We have stiff, push poles, and we basically just go to these reservoirs, back into these coves and stuff where you really can't wade to or get to, and just scads a fish and sight fish for these carp. So it's a lot like bone fishing. It's very similar, and the pitch is, if you're going to do some saltwater flat fishing, and you need to keep your skills up, take a trip with us,
right?
Because we're going to go out there. You're going to have to see the fish. You're going to have to put the bug to the fish. The strip set is about the same. All that stuff, and the guides out in the saltwater are going to thank us because you're not going to be getting yelled at for trout setting and all that kind of stuff. Right. If you ever yell that saltwater fish, they'll yell at you. God dang it, because anyway.
Right.
But so that's our pitch, and then we've adapted it more to where we fish for temperate bass in a couple lakes, big wipers and whites. We use electronics and throw full sinking line, and that's a lot of fun too. Catching wipers and whites on is great.
Right. Yeah. Being trout bums, all I do is watch videos about saltwater fishing. We haven't made it bone fishing or anything yet. But that's the key. And so I thought your concept was incredible in terms of, given that kind of experience. And even better, like you say, like if you've never gone saltwater fishing like us, and that's definitely on a bucket list thing, going to do some carp fishing in the flats of Kansas sounds awesome in terms of, not having to go make your first trip to saltwater and being all because that would be me. I'd be getting yelled at all the time. I've been a trout bum for 30 years. So I'm like, I'm going to probably trout set some bonefish and screw it up. So maybe this would be helpful if I get out. When I get out there.
It's really fun. You're out there. It's a hunt. You see the fish.
Right.
Go to a fish. That's really a fun experience, I think.
Nice. What weight rods are you fishing? Are you fishing similar?
8-weight floating
okay.
line. Yeah.
Cool.
Floating line. Little kind of
nice.
Funky crayfishy looking bugs type of thing. Not really crabs,
Right. But similar. I imagine in the casting realm of the fly, it's probably similar.
Yeah, you have to put it in front of them. It's very similar cast.
Right.
The eat and the eat is the same. They kind of suck it in, and you have to, and then the run is really the same. They take off, and you're just it's really exhilarating.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely carp right down the street here behind us in the Platte. There's sections of it that have carp in it. I have not fished for them yet. I just haven't gotten the courage. But I need to get an 8-weight. This is good. Yeah. This is a good excuse for me to get another rod, because my biggest rod is a 5. So,
well, and then the fishing the wipers and whites, we throw 8-weights too with that full sinking line. So it takes an 8-weight to chuck that stuff.
Right. Yeah. Right. Awesome.
Well, I think it's a really unique way of going about chasing carp. When we think about carp in Colorado, it's, you're stalking from the riverbank, trying not to spook them, and to think about it as, you hear about them being called golden bones, but to actually fish them like bonefish is different.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's great.
Fun. So that's kind of how we started it. So we've been doing that. I'm not a full-time guide. I have a career in this. That was where I spent a lot of my time when I wasn't fishing a lot, is software development. That's okay. What I do, and I'm kind of on the end of that. So I'm guiding a lot more now.
Nice.
I have flexibility with work, so I'm able to take trips whenever I want to. So I'm starting to pick it up a little bit more. So that's kind of my goal, is to do a little bit more around here. I like going to Taneycomo. I got a boat down at Taneycomo, so it's really easy. I can go down there, get on it, and go. I don't have to trailer it around. So that makes it really feasible. And then up here, I have that micro skiff that I pull over to. Clinton Lake is the reservoir where there's a lot of where we do. I can do all this above. I can sight fish for carp, and then I can look for warm water species stuff. Other, we
Right.
we'll smallmouth, largemouth. We even caught some walleye on the fly, which is interesting, unique.
Yeah.
That's more
That's great.
happenstance. We don't target it, but it just happens.
Right. No, that's awesome.
And when we're fishing for carp, what size fish are we looking at landing? What's your record?
They can get really big. They're kind of a slot size. So I fish a lot of Hillsdale. Clinton, I've been targeting new. What I would say, 6 to 8 pounds is kind of the slot size for
Okay.
for the carp around here. They're pretty big. The Hillsdale has a lot smaller carp. They're probably going to be more 4 to 6 pounds, but they're all pretty beefy. A lot of
Right.
grass carp at Clinton we've been targeting. Haven't had a ton of luck getting them to eat, but they are huge, right? So we're almost
Okay.
outgunned to the size of some of these grass carp that we find over at Clinton.
Okay. Wow. That sounds
Pretty awesome.
That sounds good, man. I'm in.
We get a lot of shots. It's really good for casting. You're going to get a ton of shots. It's just the hookup percentage is sometimes pretty low because they're really, really sketchy, really rare. It has to be a really good shot, which is again great
Right.
training for like bone fishing or permit fishing or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
Right.
We're gonna have to set up some hula hoops in the yard, some small hula hoops in the yard, and start practicing.
Yeah.
Target casting.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, I think we have a trip in store. I guess if we were to come out and do a trip with you, call it a 3-day 4-night trip, what would that trip look like?
So probably 3-day 4 nights. So we would take off early in the morning, depending on time of year, but probably in spring we're talking, I think. So
Yeah.
we'll get out early. The wiper white bite that we like is really they're low light predators. They're pelagic, so they move around a lot, but they like that low light condition. So we get up there when the sun's coming up for the wipers. That's the ultimate goal is catch a big wiper. The whites are a little bit easier, a little bit more easier to stalk down and find a school and go after them. So we'd start up early, go out and probably go to Clinton Reservoir here in Lawrence, be on the water, sun's coming up, find some schools. I use electronics because I'm offshore. I don't, sometimes I'll bang banks, just, like you normally would, bang the dam, bang some rock, rip wraps or something like that. And we do that sometimes and not really use electronics, but mostly I'll go try to find with my electronics, try to find the fish. And when we find them, I'll spot lock and then we just cast full sinking line to them. The key is we're always going to be in probably most often pretty deep water, right? And so we throw full sinking 8 weights with 753 IPS Scientific Anglers. I think they call them Titan line,
Mhm.
and it's
Mhm.
just lead core full sinking. And it's a little challenge to get used to. But once you do, you can send that. I mean, it's all that weight
Right.
that you have.
Right.
And we throw Clouser type minnows or
Nice.
something with a pretty heavy dumbbell eye on to get it down. Keys getting it down. And when we identify the schools, we'll try to set up maybe 20, 30 feet away from them, and then cast out as far as we can. And the idea is you want that bug to go down and kind of get to the bottom, and then strip through the school of fish or the fish that are hanging there, right? So we got to wait.
Right.
That's the other problem, because it's 7 inches per second, and they're 20 feet deep or 15 feet deep. You can't just instantly start. You got to let it get down, then you strip back, and we strip set, right? Because you can't trout set that heavy. That line is so heavy, so deep. There's no way to. I mean, you can
Right.
do it, but you won't hook up. So you got to, when you feel the bump or the thud, you do the strip set and then lift. So
Nice.
that's the idea. And once we find them, that doesn't always happen this way, but they're schooling fish. So when you find them and they're eating, it's really fun because it can be like every cast, right? That's
Right,
for a while
right.
until they figure it out. So we do that, strip back, cut back, and we just move around chasing them and do that for a while. And then when it warms up a little bit or whatever, then we'll bail on that and go back into the coves, motor back there, and I'll pull out the push pole and we just change it all up and sight fish. So that'd be, it'd be a 4 or 5 hour trip, and a couple hours we'll do the, chucking as far as we can, nothing too finessey.
Right.
Trying to hopefully get on some of that fish, and then we'll go and stalk some carp. Just change it up completely. So it's kind of a unique neat experience, I think,
Yeah.
because you get to do both type of things.
Right.
And then that would be that Clinton. And then the next day, we'd probably motor up and pull up and drive down to Taneycomo. And similar to what you did, Ed, I'd pick you up at Lily's Landing.
Mhm.
We'll in that case, we'll use a generation. I mean, sometimes the generation's off all day. We'll just pick a good time. But if the generation pattern is conducive, we'll pick a time that I like to pick a time that has a little bit of. I like to fish the rise. So if the generators are coming on at noon, I said let's start at 10. We'll start at 10, fish a couple hours that kind of still water just to kind of see what we can do. But as that water rises up, the fish always turn on. It's really fun because they really start. Oh, the water's coming. They start getting into their new lies that they're going to be hanging out at, and then it can die off a little bit, but it's usually fun. Then you get to see you get to drift. You get to see the whole river.
Mm-hmm.
So I would if there was going to be some generation published or scheduled, I'd plan the trip around that. If you had that, again, that's just if you had time. If you says, we got to fish in the morning, we got to get out of Dodge. I can fish any time, but ideally, I try to pick a time around the generation. The schedule is interesting because it's the same as the White River. So Taneycomo and the White River are the White River. I mean, before the dams came up, you had Table Rock. Well, you had Beaver Dam, which is, and then you had Table Rock Dam, and you had Bull Shoals, Missouri and Arkansas. And in the 50s, they dammed them up. They put in Table Rock Dam on the White River, and they put in Bull Shoals Dam in Bull Shoals. And before that, the White River ran all the way down into the Mississippi. And it was a smallmouth fishery, and they had guides and resorts, and it was a smallmouth fishery. In the 50s, they dammed them up, and they found out they had that cold water because it was a push-down dam, and they went ahead and put bugs in. They seeded them with bugs and turned it to a trout fishery, which here we are today. So really, it's the same kind of water. The White River's bigger fish, bigger browns, more browns. The browns are reproducing in the White. Naturally, they do not in Taneycomo. They don't know why, but they're not. They are the browns are the rainbows are reproducing in Taneycomo, but the browns do not. So they stalk them, and the White they do. And I think it's probably. But if you go to the White, which is the same, it's in Taneycomo we have midges, very few caddis, if no caddis. Probably some mayflies, I'm sure, but no stoneflies. I mean, it's just midges, right? And the White River has all the above.
Right.
You go, why is that? And I think it's because of the minimum generation is one thing. The White River always has some generation coming out. Taneycomo doesn't. The bug life they have a lot more aquatic grass. It's a lot more vegetation in the White. They have a lot of natural spring fed coming in. It's a bigger water. So that's my opinion. I don't know if that's true, but Taneycomo, they're both great fisheries, but the Taneycomo has a generation schedule, which is how a lot of us would love to go. It's just easy. It's just, I like it. It's just life's easier when the water's moving.
Yeah.
Right. David, let me ask you, do you guys ever fish? Our newest love, at least my newest love, is fishing mice patterns. We've been out a couple times in the dark and done that. Do you do anything? Do you guys do that at all? Yeah.
That's a really good question. So we go at night, right? And I don't think the moon phase has anything to do with it. I've had it with dark. I've had it with the moon out. I think they're predators. I think when they come out to play at night, the big boys, they're conditioned that way, and we just bang. We just throw 8 weights. You can throw a 6 weight, little mouse pattern against the bank. It's fun because you just got to kind of time. You can't see anything, so it's all sound, it's not visual at all. It's all hearing. So you get a feel for it. We'll turn the light on. We cast it against the banks. I'll turn the light on because you want your lights off. I turn all my lights on my boat off, and then you cast against the bank and just to get your judgment, and then we turn the lights off, and then we go, and you just go and you hear a splash, and it's fantastic. So it's a really it works, and you can do that, I think, year round. I mean, I don't think it matters.
Nice.
I had to.
One of my greatest takes that I've ever had was last year. Fishing at night, we went down the street down on the South Platte, and it was That rainbow absolutely crushed that fly, and it was like one of my favorite takes ever. In 30 years of fishing, so it was amazing.
Oh, nice. So what'd you do?
Yeah.
Was it at night, and you just kind of
Yeah,
were you wade out to the bank or back to the bank, or were
Well,
you
actually,
fishing?
it was springtime, so the water was really high. They were releasing
Okay.
a bunch of water out of the dam, and so it was up pretty good. And I just found this slack water spot, and I was just standing on the bank, just casting it out. And yeah, we had headlamps on, so I could tie flies on or whatever, and put on a mouse pattern, and just they absolutely crushed it, and it was great.
Oh,
So
wow, that's cool.
yeah, it was
That's
fun. It was cool.
yeah. So that's a total. You can go out at night
Right
and do
on.
that. And I try to offer streamer fishing. It's a little unique
Yeah.
because I'm fly fishing only on Taneycomo.
Mhm.
Some guys do both gear stuff, but I will throw streamers. I mean, anytime. I mean, you might not catch a big fish, but you'll catch fish. And so
Yeah.
sometimes it's different than watching that indicator going. And especially when the water's off, I'll throw a streamer. So I've
Right.
had some customers were going to get ready to go to Alaska, and they wanted to say, "We're taking 8 weights up to do for do some streamer fishing up in Alaska," and they wanted to practice, so they took a trip with me, and I said, "We don't want to do nymphing. Let's just throw streamers." And it was a
Yeah.
sunny bluebird day, and we just threw streamers and caught fish. So it's
Nice.
sometimes that's an option, and mixing it up that way is fun.
That's awesome. That's great.
So that's kind of the program I run, but it's a really Taneycomo. Ed, is that your first time there?
That was my first time down there. It was awesome, and we hit a little creek on the way back. Crane Creek was a
Nice.
fun fishing. Wadeable. Reminded us of Colorado and walking up some streams. So that was a nice little place to have found and enjoyed as well. So, but yeah, that was first time down there and can't wait to get back. So
Great. I'd love to take you guys. So it's
Yeah.
it's pretty too, isn't it? Yeah, I mean it's amazing. Branson has all those attractions like
yeah,
you drive down the strip and you have there's this literally like a building with a King Kong on it, and there's
Right.
a big meatball with a fork in it. The whole building. I mean it's really it's that, and then less than a mile away is this beautiful fishery with bald eagles, and I don't
Nice.
know. It's just
for sure.
really
No,
cool dichotomy.
It is. You don't realize how you think of Kansas and Missouri as just being like flat land, but I mean, there really are big hills down there, and
Yeah.
you can get lost down different streets and places, and it's a cool little area for sure. Definitely worth getting out to. It's far prettier than I ever imagined, so for sure. If you were to stay anywhere, I know Lily's Landing obviously is a resort and has places, so staying down there, definitely recommend. Great fly shop as well. Tons of choices, tons of fly tying materials, and bait shop as well. Up here in Kansas City, is there a place that you recommend people stay at all, or is it just
Yeah.
anywhere?
Oh, anywhere. I mean, think Kansas City, any hotel around here. I don't have any real VRBOs or Airbnbs up here, but it's any hotel you want to go. If you want an experience, I took a guy from Montana once who was here at a wedding, and he stayed down on the on kind of the plaza area. Right, the plaza is the plaza. It's a really open air mall, really cool. Lots of restaurants, lots of shops. It would be a cool experience to stay in a hotel down there because you're going to be in this urban, beautiful, kind of high end place, and then you could drive from there over to Clinton and fish. Well, as I spoke about, that would be a nice
Right.
experience. So the plaza area, any hotel
Cool.
along there would be good. If you happen to find a VRBO or a Airbnb along that would be good. But it'd be the plaza's kind of famous fountains, and you would be able to walk to restaurants and shopping and everything, and that'd be great. It's kind of in the middle of town. Have you seen? You probably know that by
Yep.
now, don't you?
Yeah, for sure.
Westport's
And do you have
nice.
any restaurants that you always like to frequent or recommend in either of these places?
I bet you guys could get the answer to that. What type of food? I bet you can guess the answer to what I'm going to say for the type of
Barbecue.
food. Yeah, barbecue. Yeah. So it would be Q39 and Oklahoma Joe's are my two favorites.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jack Stack is up there too. barbecue. I mean, a guy could make a tour because we're famous, as you know. We got the American Royal Barbecue, and there are so many mom and pop barbecue joints that start by just guys and gals that start these things and become empires, sort of.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's some famous ones, Gates, and others have been around for a long time. But there's like Oklahoma Joe's. I think he started. Both those guys have started as competition barbecuers, hobbyists, and then they win a contest, and next thing you know, they open up a restaurant. So that's really cool. I mean,
Joe's is really cool because it is in an old gas station. That was where their first one was. They have a couple other locations now, and then Q39 is definitely one of my favorite barbecue joints I've ever had.
I think that's the one you sent me to when I was out there with Eliza, and that was hands down the best barbecue I've ever had. It was amazing. It was incredible. My daughter and I were just like, oh my God, this is so good. Because it was packed. So we just got it to takeout because we didn't, but it was like jam packed. So we just got takeout, took it back to the hotel, and it was like melt in your mouth, falling off the bone rib. Like it was unreal.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. It was like by far the best barbecue I've ever had, by far. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was really good.
It's good.
Yeah. Q39 was the bomb. It was good.
Yeah, it's a lot. You could. It's just there's those smaller ones around. I could go on, but that'd be the food. I'm trying to think of that's it really for Kansas City. For me, I'm not really a foodie per se. Are you guys foodies?
I like food. I like to eat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a foodie necessarily, but I do like to find a cool new place every time.
Yeah, I shouldn't say that. I just got back from Chicago and ate deep dish pizza and beef sandwiches, and so like I can't
How'd
even
you do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to need to eat for like a week after being there.
Did you do any fishing out there? Any fishing out?
No, it was fully a kind of a family thing. My wife and girl were not. They're not outdoorsy fishermen people, so I just sucked it up and didn't do anything. I did go. We stayed in a hotel right down the street from the Orvis shop in downtown Chicago. So I did go into the Orvis shop and have a conversation with the dude there, and found out that there's right in the city fishing. Like you can just walk and fish the bays and everything right in Chicago. The guy was like, it's right here for the fishing. So it was like pretty cool.
Oh, nice. It's like in Michigan, right?
Yeah.
They probably have some lake trout in there and stuff like that. That'd be fun. Yeah.
He's like, there's a lot of good fishing just right along. And I'm like, wow. He's like, yeah, you can just go walk, take your fly rod, rig it up and go. And then of course they fish the driftless area. I think a lot. You got to drive to that area.
I've never done that. I'd like to. My daughter is in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. She moved up there with her husband. And I know that's a couple hours away from the driftless. And I don't know if that's something on my bucket list too. I think that looks great.
Yeah, we had a guest on who runs a school down there, a fly fishing school, and Lola and Margot, and he's and he was great dude, and so we're planning on making a trip out to the driftless this summer probably. I think that's the hope anyway, to get out there to connect with him. But we've had a couple people on talking about how good that area is.
Oh, that's great. I'd love to do that. Yeah. That's so food. Good. I feel I always lose weight when I fish because I feel like eating is something that I just don't do when I go down there. I mean,
as a guide, you probably you survive off beef jerky and potato chips.
Yeah. I did off beef jerky until a couple of years ago. I went to get my physical. And I'd been pounding beef jerky, just like you said, right? Because I was doing some guiding. And then I went in and, you know how you get your lab results? I went in and I came in the next day. And my wife and I are down in Branson and sitting there. And I popped open the app and I looked at my numbers. And I go, oh, God, they look no red, none of the red things on, it was all, to me, it looked like everything was great. And I went and told my wife, I said, Sheila, look, I have no issues. No, and nothing's going on. It looks good. And then that afternoon, 3 hours later, I got a call from the doctor's office, a nurse. And I go, this is a true story. I said, she must be called congratulating me on my numbers. And I picked up and she goes, Ms. Pitt, you need to schedule an appointment, follow up on your lab results, blah, 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 some stuff. I go, no, I don't think so. I think they were good. I looked at them, and she goes, I could tell she was like, who is this guy? I mean, you know, and that's because I was taking issue with
She's like,
what
what are
she
you
said. The
looking
doctor
at?
needs, yeah, what I'm looking at. So I did it. But what made me think about the meat sticks was I told my wife, I said, I think I haven't eaten a lot, and all I've been eating is meat sticks. I think that was the key to my better numbers because
The carnivore
I was
diet.
out a lot. Yeah, I thought I was just having protein and I wasn't eating anything else, and I lost some weight a little bit, and I was eating meat sticks. Nope. And my numbers weren't that good. I had a couple issues with it, but anyway, she just cracked up. So I thought my meat stick diet was the reason that she's calling me to congratulate me on my great numbers.
That's great.
But anyway, it wasn't. So you made me think of that. But
That's
False
funny.
hope.
Well, this is awesome. I can't wait to get out, early next year and do these trips. It's going to be a real fun one. So we're looking forward to it.
yeah, come on out.
How about we wrap this up with the GFW hot seat?
Okay, bring it on.
Welcome to the GFW Hot Seat, where the name of the game is to answer the questions. And the prizes are... Wait, who said we have prizes?
All right. What is one thing you're currently celebrating in life?
So probably my kids' life situations. My son, as I indicated to you guys earlier, he graduated, and he's in doing his deal. He's got a significant other. They're happy. They're first. I guess the kids are off the teat. I guess that's
Right.
the best way to put it. And my daughter's got married last year. She's in Cedar Rapids and doing really well. Great guy. And everybody's happy and healthy, and they have their careers going. And that's just, I don't know. That just feels good.
Yeah. Right.
Feels,
A sense of peace for you. That's fantastic. My kids are kind of getting to that point, trying to get them off the payroll kind of a thing. And as they're, in the next, 3-5 years. And so that's awesome. There's that sense of, I just sent my son to college, and just the fact that, we saw him last weekend, I think, and he's just doing great. He's happy. He's smiling. It's, when your kids are settled like that, it's there's just a sense of, okay, they're doing okay.
Yeah, it does. And I agree. Where's he going to school?
He's down at University of Colorado Springs. So he's down in Colorado Springs at UCCS. Yeah. And then, and my daughter, my youngest is, a senior in high school, and we're looking at schools for her to get off next year. And so, it's just cool. Everybody seems to be in a good place and happy. And my oldest is up in Grand Junction. She went to Mesa University up there. And so Colorado Mesa. And so she's doing great. So I know how you're feeling. It's good. That's a great celebration, to know that your kids are all right. David, give us one piece of content, a book, a video, a TV series that you'd recommend to our listeners.
So I saw that question. I got a couple.
Yeah.
Fire away.
Lords of the Fly.
Mm-hmm.
It's the book about tarpon fishery. I don't know if you guys read that. It's fantastic. I mean, it's saltwater fishing, but the stories behind that and the chasing for world records, and it's a great read. A great read.
Nice.
And then there's Joe Humphreys has lived the what's it called? I got it right here. Live the Stream. A story of Joe Humphreys. That is a great documentary on his life. Great shot well documentary, very moving. As a matter of fact, I showed it to my family, and my son is a fly fisherman, but my wife and daughter, they loved it. My wife loved it. Right. So
nice.
It's a fishing documentary about his story, and she liked it. So that says a lot, but it's really
excellent.
So that's a good one. So
we're always looking for ways to indoctrinate our significant others with fly fishing. And so if this sounds like a good,
it's a great, you could watch it with your girlfriend or wife, and it's a good chance she'd like. I think my wife liked it, and she doesn't watch anything fishing or doesn't fish. So
right.
Perfect.
Nice.
But he's so those are the two I'd look at. I read a book, The Gulf, which is good, which is about the evolution of the Gulf of Mexico. And so
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
fascinating on history, on how it all started. Oh, it's really not really fishing. It's got a
Cool.
lot of fishing in it, about how they fished it and stuff, but it's more about the history of that thing.
Right on.
That's awesome. What is one of your favorite fishing memories?
Um, I have tons of. I've fished a lot, so in a lot of places. So
Right.
I have a lot of hookups. You talked about the mousing situation, things like that. Where whoa! But I really think my best memories, and of course I have the cliche things with my son. That goes without saying, is fishing with my
Right.
boy. I mean, that
Mhm.
you can't top that. But really, I'm thinking about getting the charge. The really charge that really sticks in my head after. When you go home afterwards and think about it. I mean, you think about the hookups, think about some, but there's certain things that you really, really think about, and you kind of runs through your brain. You get that. Mine is when you figure something out. Mine are situations I've had where you figure something out. You really feel like you figured out. You're not just throwing something at the fish or drifting something or something, and they eat it and you go, okay. Or maybe they're eating everything. Sometimes they're really eating a lot of things. But when you really know you figured something out, and one in particular, I was at Taneycomo and I was fishing in still water, and I don't know why and I was fishing a San Juan worm as an attractor, right?
Mhm.
And the water wasn't moving much. Or there's some current, but it was in a little kind of an
Mhm.
eddy or whatever. And this, I had San Juan worm, with chenille on a hook, right, and doing it. And a couple fish are coming up and refusing it, right? They just come up, oh, I can see them attracting them
Mhm.
because you can see the fish, boom, turn away, turn away. Huh. So I pegged it. I went ahead and just said, I'm just going to peg this. So I took the hook away. I pegged the worm, tied it above and on. It was on.
Right.
That was I don't know why. You figured it out, and
Right.
it
Right.
was visual. It's like I knew what the fish were thinking, and I went ahead and just got rid of the hook because they were hook shy. They were coming up to it and they saw that hook and said, nah, I know what that means. Got rid of the hook, even though it was dangling below it, and bam. That was super
That's
memorable
awesome.
for me. I remember thinking about that, and it just gave me a big head. It's but just figuring it out. That all that night, going, oh, and it also made me think. Okay, you got to just
Right.
keep. And that's the fun of what we do fishing. In general, but especially fly fishing is just figuring it out. I mean, you don't have to catch a ton of fish, but if you figure
Right.
something out, it's just that's what I think is my most memorable, as opposed to a big giant fish or a hookup. It's more just when you figure it out, it's just like, oh man, that's the rush.
Right
Problem
on.
problem solving.
Right. Yeah. That's great. David, what's one piece of advice you wish somebody had given your 20-year-old self?
Probably what I talked about earlier. In my 20s, I really was passionate about my work, cranking on work all the time, and then my free time, I drank beers and chased, did that kind of stuff. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
use my time wisely. I don't feel like. I mean, it was fun, and I had friends and stuff like that. But I think I would have done more adventures. I don't. I get
Right.
there's a balance there because I didn't. I mean, I don't want to be. I didn't want to just work and not crank on my career so I could go out and do adventures. But I think I would have balanced more in my free time and stuff instead of I would have
Mhm.
done more stuff because I would have gone fishing more. I would have gone done some more adventures right with my
Right.
time as
Yep.
opposed to just what I did. I think I would lose my time a little more wisely in that aspect.
Yeah. Exploration and adventure. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the more common things we hear from people is because I do think people want that, know that working in your 20s is important on getting you ahead. So people really focus on their career. But at the same time, they say I just wasted a lot of my free time. And I think it's that intentional creation of memories, going out and intentionally doing adventures, intentionally doing things rather than just the mindless, beers and chasing women and watching Netflix.
Yeah.
Right.
And even with and then when I got into family life, I was really sometimes I would have made that adventures more with my family because I think there was times when I was, working hard, I had to do a little traveling with work, and I was doing that stuff. I think I would have tempered that a little bit better too. That moved me into my
Right.
upper 20s and 30s. I think I would have chose to do adventures with my family more than just cranking on work.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What is your definition of community?
Mm. Well, I mean, I can relate to fit what I like. What I feel really when I'm on a fishing trip, destination fishing trip with some buddies. Let's say we're at the White River or something like that, and we've had a hard day of fishing, and we fished all day and had fun. But that time afterwards when we're home, and let's say we fished and we get back and we're getting dinner and figuring out where we're staying and maybe tying some flies up and talking about the fishing or talking about stuff in general, that's where I feel really in commune with my buddies and stuff like that. When we're on that trip, right? We're on a trip and it's not while we're fishing, it's after that whole thing, because we know we got the anticipation of the next day to come up. That's a great feeling. We get to relive what we did that day and talk about it and strategies on what we're going to do. And then I don't know if that is appropriate answer, but that's kind of, I feel that is always on a fishing trips. It's really, one could say, the best part of it. It's when,
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
drinking some beers, guys, you're doing the smoke cigars, whatever, just living it and tying some flies up, and you don't have it, on this trip, on maybe usually in a beautiful place, and just thinking about getting up the next day to doing it and thinking about what you did. That's I feel that's really cool.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of our favorite times. Our yearly trip that we take is the drive up together, in the cars, that time together. The mornings before we go out drinking coffee and shooting the shit and cracking jokes and, the card playing after.
Yeah.
Those are the times that make the trip, really, really valuable and enriching for us, as that time spent together. So, yeah, that's definitely the commune part of it is definitely a big piece for us. So it's a great answer to that question.
I got another one though. I have another feeling of, I just popped in my head when guiding, because guiding, you get a lot of that, because I'm usually with somebody who's on vacation, and I'd never forget that they're here and they're on vacation in this place, and I get to see through their eyes sometimes, especially if don't get to do it a lot, that
Right.
it's just so I love that energy where they're, we're catching some fish and we're doing this and we're excited about it, and that's always the best. I
Right.
feel really, good when connected, right, in a way.
Right.
I mean, I don't always know the folks, stuff like that, but there's a connection there. You guys fish with guides, there's a definite
Right.
connection there. I fish with guides. You get a connection with that, and being a part of that's really fun. That's a real
Yep.
a benefit perk of taking people fishing is to be involved with that. That's
Right.
making people happy,
Yeah. Getting on the same wavelength, in both of those situations, in the same wavelength of the energy of catching fish and that excitement, and then the energy of winding down, planning trips, working together as a team type of thing. So
Yeah, that's good. David, what's one thing you've changed your mind about lately?
That's a tough one. I got to think. What if I changed my mind? I'm trying to think of
Where you've shifted your thought about something.
maybe about having to catch a ton of, I don't, more about the experience. I think, I think, I know what it is. I, I sometimes I'm a little, not intense, but when I'm fishing, I'm really wanting to, boom, 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 go like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried to back up a little bit, and say, let's just, if we have some conversation, if we're talking about something, or just doing it, let's take that in instead of shuffling that off and focusing on the fishing, right? Because it's not a competition. It's not like that. So, I'm really driven. I want to catch fish. Let's get going. We need to do this. And sometimes I just noticed recently, sometimes people just want to take in what's around them, what's going on. And I had a trip recently where, we're catching some fish and we're doing some stuff, and we wanted to talk about other things and things like that. And I feel like I was not given the attention. I was concentrating more on where are we at, what we need to do, what's going on here. I want to in that. And I changed my mind on that. I said, I need to back that up a little bit and say, wait a minute, we're here and having this experience. We're here to fish. That's what we're going to do. But this isn't like, not Major League Fishing, right? I mean, we don't have
Right.
a weigh in. We don't have
Yeah.
a weigh in at the end, right? I mean,
Right.
it's about
Yeah.
experience. So, I've tried to shift my mind a little bit more on that, where I'm like, let's read the room a little bit, I guess.
Right.
I need to read the room instead of being one way. I'm going to read this room where folks are at what they want out of this, And I
Yep.
think there are people
Me-
that say, I need to get as many fish as I can. Let's go, right? And I want to learn it hardcore, but if there's there to say, so I don't know if that's something I've shifted a little bit on recently.
Nice. That's
Yeah, I
great.
think that's one piece of advice that David Coggins, who we had on our podcast a while ago, he had mentioned that whenever you get a guide, make sure you communicate what you want on that trip. And I think probably makes sense to go the opposite way too, with the guide asking, the people, what kind of energy they want to have on that trip and really experiencing the whole thing. So
Yeah. I read his book. That's a great guy. I like his book.
Yeah.
What was that one that's about, I just finished it a while ago.
he's got The
Right.
Believer and The Optimist.
The Optimist.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
Optimist was
Yep.
great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. I'll check their
Yeah.
podcast out on that.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
he
he's
was one of our favorite conversations. He was a great
He
dude.
was he's a dude that I'd love to go meet up and go fishing with. He's
Yeah.
he's a funny
He
guy.
was a big
Yeah.
steelheader, right? At one point, or still was. Or,
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
chases
Big
everything.
bone
it seems like.
fisherman, yeah, but
Mhm.
he's
Yeah.
he's great.
Wow, that's cool.
He was on. Yep.
So our last segment here is what we call our conversation between guests. So we have a question from our previous guest for you, who happened to be, who I mentioned earlier, Spence Neubauer of Eagle River Whiskey out of Minturn, Colorado.
Oh, okay.
And his question to you is, what's your ideal men's fishing trip and why haven't you planned it already?
I've got my ideal men's fishing trip, and and I haven't. I'm starting to plan it yet. And this is something I got turned on to chasing redfish down in Louisiana, in the grass
Okay.
flats down there.
We'd love to do that.
New Orleans, and and I want to. And there's this. It's in Hopedale, Louisiana, and Venice is good, but this is the same as like Venice. It's just a great fishery down there. 40 minutes south of New Orleans ish. Within an hour, you can get down in this cool country, and they have been with a guide a couple times. It's fantastic, bull redfish and all kinds. We got into some jacks, and it was just cool. Even sharks and stuff like that. And anyway, there's this on the real remote area. There's this big old like a riverboat, and it's there for Yellowfin and other places will put their guests there for a fishing trip, right? It's got a bar and hotel rooms and things like on this boat on the water, right at the ramp, right? And think of Louisiana, Cajun country stuff, just as you'd imagine it. And you stay there, and the guys pick you up, and you go fishing, right? You can rent. You don't have to go with a guide. It's just like a hotel, right, with bars and stuff like that. So I'm going to go down there. We're going to drag our skiffs down there because we have a couple shell skiffs that we can pull through there. We're going to go down and probably hook up with my guide just to kind of get our chi going, right? And and then do a DIY for a couple days, right?
Nice.
Exploring it,
Right.
We'll leave the place alone that the guy shows us, so we don't, I'll let the guy know what we're doing, so he doesn't, I don't want him to get all PO'd at me for this is spots, and we won't bring any GPS. That's the part whenever we'll GPS will find, but we won't mark any locations, because I don't want to do that. But because part of the fun is exploring on our own. So we'll go with that, and then we'll stay at that place, and buddies, so we'll do there and just do our thing, fish hard for a couple 3 days or whatever, and get our chi going with a guide, and then do it ourselves. Figure it out. Go down there and pull and do it on our own, right? Take our skiffs, and that's what we're trying to do. I think that would be great. The second one would be up into the North Platte up there in Alkelva, Wyoming, the Gray Reef, Fremont Canyon and the Miracle Mile. I've done those, a lot of that, but that would be the second one with my buddies. I'm planning.
Nice.
I love that, but I've done that, so that doesn't count. This is this other one I haven't. I fished it, but I haven't done it with the guys' trip and on my own. So that's it.
I'm in red fishing. You bet. That's on our bucket list big time. So I'd
What
love
have you
to go
What
do
have you
that.
found to be the hardest part of planning a trip like that?
Time. I mean, just getting everybody on board. I mean, we could fly it or drive it. We'll probably drive it with all our boats. We have to.
Yeah.
Right.
But time away from family and things like work and things like that. Guys, making that happen. Got to put it in the calendar. But I don't think there's really anything. I think we just got to put it on the calendar and do it.
Right.
Do you have a go-to move to guilt trip a guy into going onto a trip?
Oh, excellent. To get a guy going. That's the interesting question. How do I get something?
It doesn't have to be guilting either.
I don't think it's guilty. I just think it's just talking about where we're going, what we're doing. I mean, think about it. Your buddies. If somebody says, "Hey, we're going down to this Louisiana. We're going to stay on a boat on the water. We're going to be fishing for a couple 3 days for redfish in beautiful country." I think you just say that, and we're going in. We're going to go in January when it's cold. You can't fish in Colorado. I think if you say you for being from Colorado, even here, we're going to January. The thought of those guys down there in January and you're up here, I think that's guilt. When I'm going, I got to be a part of that.
The FOMO factor, right? The fear of missing out. You bet. Yes, that's strong enough. That's great.
What is your question for our next guest?
Okay. How do you process slow fishing days?
Awesome.
Good.
Great.
Nice.
That's a great question.
That's a good question. Yeah, fantastic. Oh yeah, the thoughts start to wander, don't they? This on slow days, the thoughts start going. Yeah.
I have a theory
good.
that slow days are sometimes better than good days.
Okay.
Only because have you noticed that you drive home or you're thinking about it, it keeps you up, you think about it, it makes you want to go back.
Right.
You have to unwind. The only way to unwind, it's like losing a big fish. So you catch it's nullified, right? You lost a big fish. That's another good question. Another big, I was thinking, you lose a big fish, right? And you on your mind, we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
And then once you catch another one, that's somehow it nullifies it. But slow days, don't you go back and you think about how what's different? You think, and you can't wait to get back. And I think the drives to get back is more than if you had a great day, because a great day you go, well, you're satiated, you're kind of okay, I can live with that for a while. But when a slow day, it's like, I need to, it's fishing, right? So
Right. That's great. No, absolutely. David, this has been a great conversation. We appreciate you being on the show and talking with us. How can people get a hold of you, get in touch with you, let our listeners know how they could find you and get in touch with you and book a trip with you?
KCFlatsco.com. KCFlatsco.com is the website. We have our Instagram on there. We have phone numbers to all of us and our email. So that way, or Lily's Landing down in, if you're down in the Taneycomo area, you can call me directly, or you call Lily's Landing. It's a resort I guide out of down the Taneycomo, and they have accommodations and they can get in contact with me, or if other two, like Ed fished with Blake. There's a bunch of good guys down there too.
Great.
Know that river.
It's an awesome fishery. I highly recommend people get down there and get out on the water with David. So check it out for sure.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you guys. I had a really good time.
Thank you. This is awesome.
Thank you so much for being with us. Yeah, it's been great conversation.
Looking forward to getting out on the water here in a couple months.
Yeah, come on down. It'll be great. We'll have fun.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
See you guys.
Talk to you.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I never knew that you could fish for carp that way.
Absolutely. Right. I think that the polling it's like bone fishing in Kansas, dude.
Right. You never hear about that.
Right. What a great niche for them to discover that and kind of and feed that concept. Hey, you need some practice. You going on a bone fishing trip down in saltwater? Come practice here before you go. And especially for newbies, right? We've never done that. And so I think that's, there's a lot of anxiety. When we talked with David Coggins about that kind of like, you go down bone fishing, there's like this anxiety. I don't want to screw this up. I don't want to, it's hard. It's not easy fishing. What a great way to get comfortable with it. I think these guys are onto something.
No doubt. I mean, well, you just every time you watch a video of people fishing for carp, it's like they're fishing from the bank of a lake or bank of a river, and they're, you know, hiking on their all fours, trying to like sneak up on the fish, and but to be able to do it, you know, of course, it's like one of those things. Every good idea always seems like an obvious solution in the end when you look back at it, and it's just like, oh yeah, I mean that is. And it's probably not groundbreaking to fish for fish from a boat, but it's just an interesting way to think about that type of fishing.
Yep. Would have never even thought it existed. I would have never thought to look for,
Never.
Pole fishing for carp. But, okay.
Well,
yeah.
But then also, going down and fishing, went down, fished in Branson, Missouri with my pops this past week, and it was awesome fishing the Taneycomo, Lake Taneycomo. It's a river, lake. It's confusing, but just call it Taneycomo and you'll find your way there. It's an awesome fishery, tons of fish, good fighting fish, some big ones if you can get into them. It's awesome. So
nice.
Definitely check out Lake Taneycomo.
Can't wait to hook up with David and do that. It's going to be a goodie. It's
going to be awesome. What are you celebrating this week, buddy?
I got back from a weekend college visit with my daughter. We had a phenomenal visit at Concordia in Chicago, and she loved the campus, loved the team, loved the feel of it. So it was a really good trip for her in terms of next steps and kind of figuring stuff out and what she wants. It was amazing. And the coach O'Malley, shout out, she put out the red carpet for us and made us feel welcome. And we got so much information. It was really good. Met with so many different people. And I think it was really cool for my daughter to be able to do that, for Eliza to be able to see that and experience that. So it was a really good trip. And plus, we stayed in the city, Chicago. She got to see Chicago for the first time. She'd never been there. We ate Giordano's deep dish pizza.
She got Lou Malnati's.
We did Lou Malnati's one night as well.
You did? Oh, well, you've tested both sides of the track.
We did both. We tested both sides, and I think the votes are in for. I think we like the Giordano's better than Lou Malnati's.
I don't like you very much then.
So no judgment, Ed. No judgment. We're not here.
I'm all about judging. This is like one of those topics that people.
I guess so.
Wars are started over.
I guess so. I think we like the pizza at Giordano's better. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah.
but I had a beef sandwich.
We
did it all. So it's good.
I don't feel
like I don't feel like I can do me. I think you're a little disappointed in me doing me.
You can do whatever you want.
Even if it's
you're
wrong.
your own person, even if it's wrong. Yeah.
Nice.
Did it feel like home up there?
Yeah, definitely. Where this school is out there in Oak Park. It's really a cool area. So I think she felt very, very comfortable and they made her feel real welcome. It was awesome. It was good.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
How about you, brother? What are you celebrating?
I am celebrating on this past weekend. My dad and I getting out and doing a father-son trip. We went down to Branson, Missouri, as I just mentioned, and fished on the Taneycomo and Crane Creek, and it was awesome. I mean, Branson is a unique place. It's like the little Vegas of the Midwest in a way. Everything is kind of a little larger than life. They got a fake Titanic boat and King Kong and a lot of Elvis impersonators and stuff like that. So, in fact, I think we might have gotten served a bagel by somebody who does bagels during the day, Elvis by night. So,
all right,
it was a cool trip. Caught some awesome fish. I think our big fish was 16 inches, which I'm sure the guide was like, well, we should just probably throw that one back. But it was our biggest fish of the trip, but we probably caught, 40 fish. So
Nice.
It was a lot of fish. We didn't catch the big wall-worthy brown trout that we were after, but we will,
we'll go back.
live another day. So, but it's definitely worth checking out, and like we just talked with David, check out David's guiding, and we'll also post about who we guided with while we were down there as well. But definitely check out on doing a trip out there.
Nice. Yeah. It sounds like it was amazing. Hey, and exploring new places, man. You'd never been there, so that's cool.
Yeah. It was awesome. What are you navigating?
I'm navigating, we're starting to navigate the upcoming holiday season. It's different. My eldest, she's working now, can't join us for certain things. We might have Thanksgiving without her, and then we might have to take Christmas to her. So it's going to be, so we're like navigating that, and it feels different. It feels kind of weird. And I think this is just the progress of life. When your kids start to leave and venture on their own, things change, and it's not going to be the same as it always was. So that kind of forging new paths to accommodate everything, and being willing to take maybe some of the holidays to her. Yeah, we'll see. But it's definitely a navigation, because the others are, wait, what? We got to do what? We're not going to be, so there's that kind of, it's about sacrificing and doing whatever. So,
well, I know your wife likes to decorate for Christmas. Is that going to change the decoration?
God, I hope not. We still want it to be Christmassy around here.
Okay.
We all love that very much. So yeah, I'm hoping. I actually, it was funny. I actually made the comment like, well, hey, let's just start setting up the Christmas stuff now. And she's like, no, we have to wait until after Thanksgiving.
You're not that old that you start setting up Christmas now. Going back to Branson for a second.
Yeah.
We somehow transported into Christmas winter wonderland. I mean, it's the beginning of November, and it was like Christmas songs, full Christmas trees, and like downtown.
No doubt.
It was on already. So it's Christmas in some places in America right now. I'll tell you that.
Wow. We did see when we were in Millennium Park in Chicago, they had just put the Christmas tree up. It's not
Christmas
decorated, but the big tree's up. They got the ice rink out and ready for ice. So they were hanging up all the Christmas stuff with the cranes. So yeah, they're starting to prepare for it for sure.
Yeah, well, they got to convince people that tree's been growing there the whole year. So they got to get it out there so people don't realize it's brought in from somewhere else.
Yeah. So I guess it's coming. How about you, dude? What are you navigating these days?
I am navigating, like we mentioned on this show, the fly shop that's closing literally right down the street from my house. It's unfortunate news, because now that I'm getting into fly tying, it really is one of the best fly material shops in the country. I mean, it's got loads and loads of stuff. The guy's been doing this for 30, 40 years. And so it's got all kinds of choices and everything. So it's kind of like one of those places you walk into where it just has that old hobby feeling, where it's just like odds and ends and things like that. So it's a little bit of a bummer to not have that right down the street now that I've ventured into this new hobby. But maybe that's a good thing too. I hear that it can be awfully expensive to tie flies as well. So maybe it's good to put a little distance between the cash register and my wallet. But through that, I've also kind of found some other clubs and stuff that are in the area. They kind of mentioned what they were going to be doing as the fly tyers, and their future endeavors of teaching their fly tying class, but also where they're going to create their third space. Because like we mentioned in the show, I mean, it is one of those fly shops that does have a table, a big table, literally right in the middle of the shop, which you don't see at all the fly shops. And so these old guys, they're in their 70s and 80s, and they're looking for their next place to congregate now that they don't have that. And so it's a little sad to see that disappear out of a community, but it's exciting that they have other places to go look for it. And so I'm kind of excited to go and try out some of those third spaces as well, and see where that takes me.
Right on, dude. Yeah, that's kind of a bummer that you hate to see the old school fly shops, you know,
Yeah.
go out. But sounds like the guy's just done. Going to move on to another phase.
Yeah, it sounds like it might be health related and stuff like that, and just needs to focus his efforts elsewhere. And but it is a cool shop.
That's awesome.
And it was
glad
right
you
down
got
the
to
street.
experience it. I'm glad you got to experience it. That's cool. That's cool.
So
good stuff, man.
this is awesome. Another good one in the books. Can't wait to get on the water with David.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Springtime, baby. Can't get here soon enough.
Nope. All right, man. I love you.
Love you too. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening. Make sure to visit our website, guysfishingweekend.com, to check out the GFW merch, sign up for our newsletter, and learn how to get involved with the community. We appreciate you spending even a little bit of your week with us and are glad to have you along on the journey. Stay legendary and happy fishing.